Hello everyone, we are part 2 of the floors and rockers. On the right hand side, have all the offending material cut off. So, a little bit of the B-pillar, need to do some more work on it. Wasn't as extensive as the other side, but I did have to make replacements. Unfortunately, I didn't make any video of that. It's very similar to the other side. This is the B-pillars with all the new metal welded in it, fitting up the inner and outer rocker that's just held together with the vice grips for the initial fitting. Gaps are pretty even along the bottom of the door. Happy with that. This I'm showing the edge of the door and where it lines up to the seam on the rocker, and here we see we have a fairly large gap, and the rocker is pushed up to the real well flush, so I need to trim that off a little bit so I can slide the assembly back and get the edge of the door and the edge of the quarter or rear fender line up with the rocker nicely. Here we are. Rocker assembly now slid back 3/16 of an inch or so, and the gaps line up much better. Now that I'm ready to commit, grab out my spot welder. I've shown this tool before. It sure is easier. It's a bit heavy, but it sure is easier than plug welds. Lots faster too. Well, rockers are all welded in. I didn't show that. It was the same as before. Setting in the floor. See how things will do for its initial fitting. Putting in the body to frame mount supports. Now fitting my jig pieces back in with learning from my brother's repair previously. I knew that I could not put those in. I had to torch them out on his to be able to fit the floor in. I made these on this jig removable. It was a big improvement. Hammer action, get the bolts go on, and this will give me my height for the floor. Now tapping the framed bracket, getting all the 4 holes to line up. It's still floating. I'll attach it when I weld the floor in. with the floor in. I can't stick my head through and see if the little holes line up for the rear mounts. It was easier before I got all that sheet metal on the road. A couple of little adjustments. Looks like everything's going to go. Of course, it'll be final fit for the sparks fly. Using some self-tapping screws to attach the inner rocker to the floor pan through the plug weld holes. My spot welder won't reach, so this has to be done plug weld style. Magnetic bit on the screwdriver makes this job much easier to do. I tend to put the screw right through the plug weld hole. This does a couple things. It lets the hole move around when the two pieces draw together, and I'm going to weld that hole up anyway, so there's no sense in making a fresh hole just to weld for the screw. Everything is attached. I get a little help. Hang the door. And as the saying goes, don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain. He's just doing what he needs to do. I've found that when I hang a door temporarily, that I put either all the screws or nearly all the attaching screws in. I have found over the years when I've just put one in the top and one in the bottom and fit everything up, when I put all of the screws in, it moves. Now this, I wanted to show, the door hinges were not moved and the post was not moved from the original. And when I put it up on this side, it shows that there was about an inch from the hinge to the end of the rocker indent. I was doing this to see if I was close on the right hand side, but when I did the left hand side, it's only a ½ inch. And these hinges also had not been moved, and the door fit the rocker when I fit everything before, so the sides are asymmetrical. I haven't measured the doors to see if they're the same length, but since from the hinge to the edge of the rocker is a ½ inch difference, there must be a ½ inch difference between the hinge plate and the edge of the door between the two doors. I may look at that later. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.